It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Max de Vriend. We're here in your beautiful home in Efrat in Israel. And Max, you were born originally in Holland.
In Amsterdam.
What year were you born?
1941.
So if you could tell us a little bit about your family.
1941, that makes me now nearly 82.
Very young looking, 82.
Nearly 82.
You look so much younger.
Yeah, everybody said it. Anyhow, I was born in 1941. Then my parents. And that is me. I had my own car in that time already, my own car.
That is 1941.
That's my grandparents and my parents.
If I could look.
Their grandparents on my mother's side.
And your parents, this is also a picture of you.
That is, yeah, that's a picture of me.
What were your parents' names?
De Vriend. My mother is Femma Del Monte, from the Del Monte family. And Maurits de Vriend. And I'm Mordechai Salomon. I was named after my grandparents. They call me Max, so Max Sylvain de Vriend is my real name. So my father was working in the diamond industry in Amsterdam by the company Asher. And that seems to be very important because I was born in 1941 and Amsterdam at that time it was still okay, but the trouble started in 1942, 43. So my parents and I were rounded up and sent to Westerbork. There's a transit camp in Westerbork. But the Germans had all the diamonds that had to be treated. So they brought the people back to Amsterdam to handle their diamonds. So my father was one of them. So we came back to Amsterdam. So my parents, my uncle, that was the sister of my late father, was married to Ut, and he was working in the underground in Holland. And my parents said, what happens once can happen twice. She didn't trust the Germans at all. So they decided to, because they had contacts in the underground, to give me to the underground. And that was also a story, because the wife of an NSB'er, that is, an NSB was somebody who cooperated with the Germans in Holland. But his wife was part of the underground. So my mother took me, and I was 2.5 years old, to that lady. And she had to wait on the balcony because her husband was still at home. So she had to wait till he left. And then they gave me to underground, and the story is what they told me, because I can't remember anything, is that I ended up by a couple of families till I ended up by the family in a place in Almelo. That is the. And how do you get there?
And this is Jan and the Slaghuis.
Slaghuis, yeah. So how do you end up there? Because Jan Slaghuis was working in a confectie company, Bendien. That was a Jewish company for clothing, and he did maintenance work, but his colleague was Jewish, and he was also connected to the underground. So one day, it seems that he asked him, we have a Jewish boy, are you interested to take him? And they didn't have children. So they said yes. So I ended up in this family. The family, yeah. Okay, so I was 2.5 years old when, maybe 3, I didn't remember anything till I was about 3.5 years old. Then I started to remember what. And the story is also that her sister, who lived very close, had a son, and he was 9 months younger than I was. And her husband was doing sabotage work, because he was working for the telecommunication business, and he did sabotage work. So they thought it was too dangerous to keep their son at home. So they put their son with their sister, where I was. So we grew up together as brothers, and we still are. We speak every day, because the helmets so gas, but the COVID they couldn't come here, but every 2 years they came here. We took holidays, we went on cruise together. I speak every Friday at 4 o'clock with him, and hopeful he comes back next year here, because we're very close still, all this time. So that is the beginning. So that family Slaghuis, when I start to remember, that was my family. I think it was my parents, and they're very good for me. There was always food on the always food in the house, because what he did in the morning on the bike, he went to the farmers, because the place Almelo is in the east part of Holland, very close to the German border, and then in that time it was omringed as farmland, and he had connections with the farmers. So in the morning he went up to the farmers and got his food. There was always food on the table. I was never hungry. And they were the best people for me. The other story is that you can see here, I show you that is the house where I was hidden. Where is that? Oh, where I was hidden? Where's that house? Have a look, where's that house? Yeah, here. There's also this house is a corner house. You see the entrance is here. Now it is an elderly home. In that time it was a school. And what was in the school was the German army. Wow. So there was a fence, and a garden with a fence. So I was to the fence, I could see the German army there. And there was one soldier, he told my mother, I have a son at home that looks like him, and I was forced to go in the army, because otherwise they will kill my family, so I have to go in the army. So when he left, he gave me his white rabbit. So I think he knew I was Jewish, I'm not sure. So, and
here you have a picture of your brother.
Now I got here.
This is beautiful.
We are grown up, you can see. We look like brothers, we look alike.
So he's the younger one.
Yeah, he's 9 months younger than I am.
And here's with the...
That is later, that is after the war. It is... you can see it. So you can see it against the Jan die Slaghuis.
And they knew when they were taking you in, it was extremely dangerous.
They know, but they have the people there in us don't speak. They're closed, especially not the Germans. They knew that I was Jewish, because she told me, the friends, the neighbors, I was a child from a friend of Italy, because I was dark. I didn't match with the other people.
And can I ask, Max, were they Roman Catholic?
No,
or
nothing. Sure they were, nothing.
Oh, they weren't religious?
Nothing.
They didn't go to church?
Nothing. Nothing. I was never brainwashed.
They weren't...
No cross in the house, nothing. Their sister also, nothing. That is the father of Gerrit. My brother, his name is Gerrit, and you can see that.
That is such a lovely picture.
His name was Jan van der Elst. And their house was always open for me.
And they treated you like a son.
I was part of the family. I was completely part of the family.
It's such a beautiful picture, this. You can see you're very happy, you're smiling, and...
I was a happy child.
And do you remember that about your parents? Did you...
Of course not. I didn't know anything.
You thought they were your parents?
That were my parents. I didn't know anything. It was my family.
And they never told you that we're not your real parents, that we're looking after you?
No. They didn't. And one of the things was, when my mother gave me away to the underground, she put in my clothes a coin engraved with Gai in it. And she put it in my clothes. So when my hand was D, took my clothes up where I was growing, she found that coin. So she kept it. And it was very important. So the war, the other thing is, in the place Almelo, on the east side of Almelo was a big forest. In that forest was the German army with the V1, the bombs, the flying bombs, but they shoot to England. And I was learned that there were very often misfires. And I was turned, when I heard the sound of a misfire, I had to sit in one of the corners in the house, and my parents were sitting in front of me. So that gives you an idea. I was part of my family, and so when the war ended in 1945, when the Canadian Army came in that school, the Germans was fleeing. And you can see that corner house. So the Germans came out of the house, running around. There was a main street there, and it was around 12 o'clock. Was lunchtime, and I was sitting on the table, and I was looking through the window. I could look through the window, and suddenly a German soldier passed and saw us sitting, and he aimed his weapon to us, and my mother grabbed me and put me under the table.
He could have fired.
Yeah, he was aiming at us, and she put me under the table. It gives you an idea how the family is.
And also, they knew they were losing. They were...
Of course.
And
they were fleeing for the Canadian Army
came.
He was
still prepared to...
Oh, of course, that was, I don't know. Anyhow, back to my real parents. My father was, of course, my parents were taken up again. And my father was sent to Oranienburg, and he didn't make it. He died in 2 months before in March 45. He died. My mother was in Bergen-Belsen, and she survived because the Count Bernadotte bought up all the buses, but with all the women who should have gone to Auschwitz. He bought up, and they sent them to Gothenburg in Sweden. My mother was very ill, but she survived.
So your mother went on the Count Bernadette on the white buses?
She was in the bus.
And she went to Sweden?
To Gothenburg.
How did your father pass away? How did he die?
We don't know. Yeah. He died. We don't know. He died in, I think the 10th of March in 45. So, that is also something what I have to tell you, and then I can see the hand of Hashem in my whole story. Because my father was born on the 4th of March. Jan Slaghuis was born on the 4th of March.
Unbelievable. It's amazing.
My mother was born on 28th of April. Dee was born a week later, the 6th of May.
It's incredible.
That's incredible.
It's the hand of Hashem.
That's the hand of Hashem.
It's Om Min Hashemayim.
Yeah. Because that it happens is maybe 1 in a billion by accident. So my mother survived. She was very ill. She was typhus. And she came back in 1946 by plane. And the Red Cross in Holland had the names of children who were hidden. And she found my name. So she found out where I was. So one day, that is also in that house you see the entrance is here. It was never used because the main entrance was at the gate on the side of the house. Mm-hmm. This door was never used. So one day the bell rang. It was unusual. So my father went to the door, my mother and I was looking behind her, who's coming on the door. And it was a lady with a big hat. And she said, I think you have my son here. And part of the proof was the coin.
Wow.
So she came in, and I was always a little bit shy, but when the strange lady came in, I was on her lap straight away.
You went to her?
Straight away. Because we look alike. They could see that my mother, that was my mother. So that there was a story that my mother told me that said, you can have our house, but we can keep your son. She said, no way, we can't do that. So she had to sleep over. There's the bedroom upstairs. There was another bedroom on the other side. So they let her sleep over because she couldn't go back that same day. But in the morning I took out of my bed and went straight to her bed. Because there was, that is inside. You can't explain it. So then they made the best deal ever. They said, she didn't take me home. She didn't take me. She left me there.
When did they tell you she's your mother? Straight away?
I can't remember that. But that's a story separate. Because they made a deal. Said, he can stay as long as he wants. Till, no, that's different. They made a deal that she didn't take me home. Also there was something else, because that area, in that area is a dialect. I spoke a dialect. So we had communication problems, because my mother didn't understand the dialect and I didn't understand her language.
But it was Dutch.
Of course it was a dialect. It was difficult. Anyhow, they made a deal that my forefather would bring me on the train. He gave us the train. Halfway between Almelo and Amsterdam is a place called Amersfoort. It is about 100 kilometer difference, 110. So Jan took me to the train to Amersfoort. My mother was waiting for me and she took me home. And when I went for the weekends and holidays, I went always to Almelo. So my mother brought me to Amersfoort, and my father was waiting for me and took me to Almelo. And that went up several years till I could travel by myself. I spent all holidays and vacations with my brother and my family, because that was my family.
And your mother got on very well?
They became part of our family.
This is incredible.
They became completely part of my family. So, my children, but their grandchildren. But beside that, Dee passed away when I was 18 years old. It was a very hard time for me. Jan came to our house in Amsterdam for about a couple of weeks to live with us. Because they were part of our family. They were on my... He remarried. He came to my bar mitzvah with his new wife. They came to our wedding with his new wife. We were one family. On holidays, later on, and Gerrit, my war brother, came on holidays with us. We went to France, to Belgium. We were always together.
Can we see this picture again with you and Gerrit? It's amazing.
Here.
This is in 46.
That's straight after the war, when my mother found me.
Your mother? Wow, you can see. This is amazing. This is in 1946.
Yeah.
And Max, can I ask, when you... It must have been so confusing for you when you found out that you have a mother and...
That is so. It took me... I was about 12 years old when I realized where my place was. My mother never pushed me. It came from myself. It took me 12 years because I still remember that, because I said I have to go home because I have still exams to do, I have to learn. It was an excuse to go home.
Gee.
Yeah. That is in short my story. But I tell you, the family van de Els, dus the parents van Gerrit, were also part of our family.
And then we just have some more. This is when you were, we're just going back, were...
No, this is just before my mother came to the underground. I was 2.5 years old.
In this picture, you 5 months?
Oh, did you? 5, yeah. No, I was about 2 years old. Because it was 6 months old, that's not true. Oh yeah, that's right, it's 6 months old. Oh. There's another one where I was in.
And this is a picture of the anniversary?
Yeah, on the anniversary.
And is that in front of the house?
That's in front of the house. You can see number 77, I can't see it. This is in front of the house. And this is, you can see here, this is my stepfather. My mother remarried when I was 10 years old.
Your mother remarried?
Yeah, when I was 10 years old. And see, this is Jan and his wife here, and my family, and my children were their grandchildren.
And can I ask, your mother, she remarried, was he a survivor or?
He was also a survivor, yes.
And did they have children?
No.
And was he good to you, your
Very
stepfather?
Good. He was the best father I've ever.
Oh.
Yeah. He was amazing for me.
And you lived in Amsterdam?
Amsterdam, yeah.
And Max, what happened to your extended family, your grandparents?
Nobody survived.
Nobody survived? On both sides?
My uncle, my aunt, my 3 nephews didn't survive.
Del Monte, dit is de Portuguese connection. Del Monte,
No.
From the whole extended family?
Only my aunt, my mother's sister, she fled to Jamaica with her husband.
To Jamaica?
Yeah.
Was this before the war?
No, during
They managed to get out.
yeah, they went to Belgium, France, Spain, and they went to over the Pyrenees, and then from Spain they had a boat to Jamaica.
And did they stay there a long time?
After the war they came back.
Wow. And how was it like being in Amsterdam, knowing that so many of the
Was
Jewish
terrible, was terrible.
population weren't there
It
anymore?
was terrible because when my mother came back to the house, the neighbors, when she left her flat, she gave the silver and whatever she had in the house to the neighbors. So when she came back and knocked on the door opened, and she saw the candelabra, the silver candelabras, and they were very upset that she came back.
Oy.
And they didn't want to give anything. So my uncle was a big boy, he came, and then they gave a part back to my mother.
Oy.
Now they were very unhappy that people came back, the Jews came back.
How long did you live in Amsterdam?
I lived, well, in Amsterdam, I moved because I'm my profession, I'm an engineer. I worked for Citroën, and I got a different job offer in 1977. So I moved to Apeldoorn, Zwolle.
But you were living all these years in Holland.
Of course, I studied in Apeldoorn, and then 77 we moved as a family to Zwolle, and in 1984 I got in 1982 an offer from a company in Melbourne, Australia. So in 1994 we moved to Melbourne.
And Max, can I just ask, before the war, was your family a very traditional, religious family?
No, not religious, very liberal.
But did they keep Shabbat or light candles?
How do I know?
And after the war, was your mother traditional?
Very, very traditional. The high holidays we did, that was all.
And did you go to a Jewish school?
Yeah.
Or,
No, I went to Sunday school. Sunday was a Jewish school.
and you had a bar mitzvah? You had
It's
in which shul did you have the bar mitzvah?
in the Lekstraat in Amsterdam. So the whole family van Almelo came to bar mitzvah.
And that little coin that your mother put in, without that coin, it would have been very hard for her to...
Maybe yes, but you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Because I was looked like the mother.
But it was so clever of your mother to put that
It was
coin
very
in.
clever.
But they're also amazing people, because you hear of some people that didn't want to give the children back and refused.
Yes, I have a lot of stories.
And there are many stories like that.
Because when I was living in Melbourne, there was for Holocaust survivors to get treatment for their problems. So I went there too, and I heard stories. That was not me. So I never came back. I never went back there because I didn't have that problem.
You weren't traumatized.
I was not traumatized at all, not at all.
But I think, Max, the way that your mother and your...
That's the best.
That they made that deal,
Yeah.
and that you stayed. It lessened the trauma, because it's a tremendous trauma
For a child.
for a child to think, now I've got another mother, and
Yeah.
there were cases where children didn't want to go back with their biological parents.
Yes. Oh yeah, because that was their family. They grew up there. That's why one of the people who have no traumas and had a happy remembrance of their time. I was very thankful for them. Yeah.
And when you were growing up, did you mix with, after the war, did you mix with Jewish children, or Did your
There were not many Jewish children. The school where I went was one Jewish boy and one Jewish girl. That was it. And I was, they knew I was Jewish, so the children went to, were not very friendly, and I was very strong, and I mapped them all. They wanted to say anything, I gave them a map. I still remember that. There was one boy who treated me very badly, and one day I took him out completely. He never did it again. I never had any problems again.
and the teachers were they kind to you?
Fine. No, the teacher, no problem, never.
And your mother and your stepfather, the friends that they associated with, were they mainly Jewish or?
Yeah. Well, survivors from my mother where she survived in Gothenburg. I have still some pictures here, so I don't know where maybe I think there's on here one picture. They became friends for a lifetime because there was a whole clique of women in that same village where they set up. No, this I got it on here, not in
And Max, you have here.
That's from my father.
This is the confirmation.
Yeah.
Did your mother often speak about her experiences?
She couldn't speak about it.
Do you know what happened before she was taken to Bergen-Belsen?
No, that was in Amsterdam. They lived in the house when they were taken away.
And they took straight away?
Yeah. After I was put in underground. I don't know what time it was.
And was she all the time in Bergen-Belsen?
Yeah.
Because they said it was...
In the salt mines deep. She made parts for the airplanes, she told me.
And could she, when you were growing up, did she ever speak about her experiences?
She couldn't.
And your stepfather, did he speak about his experiences?
He stayed in Westerbork. He managed because he was very friendly with the German guy who made the list for people who were transported, and he took always his name off.
It's a miracle as well.
Yeah. So he stayed in Westerbork. He never went to the camps.
And Max, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question.
Okay.
And I hope you don't mind, but I think it's so important. If you have children and grandchildren, if the situation was reversed, would you have taken in a non-Jewish child,
I have no idea.
endangering your own family and your own children?
We don't know. You make a decision on the spot. You can't.
But it's what they did is it's heroic. It's
Russell. Yeah.
And were they given righteous amongst the nations?
Yeah. They never wanted to do it because they always said we had to do what we have to do. That was our duty. But when they passed away, I did anyhow. You can see it here.
You have it? And you organized this?
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's really it's unbelievable. But Max, you can see the picture of your parents. You had very special parents. Just wonderful. And Max, if I can ask you, oh, that's so wonderful. Sure, this is a beautiful picture. you seem very happy,
I was
very,
happy.
very content,
I was
and
very
very.
happy child. You can see it also here. Here was 18 years of.
Ah, this is 17 years old.
You can see I'm happy. We're very close.
And what did you call D?
Mom?
Always,
Yeah.
even when you were reunited with your own mother.
Yeah.
So you really.
She was her mother. For me, she was my mother. She took always very good care of me. With everything.
And Max, I want to ask you. You know, I see you're wearing a kippah. You live here in a religious community in Efrat. Did you always have emunah? Did you always?
Yeah, already. When I was my bar mitzvah, I told my mother, can we keep a kosher house?
You asked her.
Yeah, she said, I have no idea how to do it. When you have your own house, you keep kosher. That's what we did. So I married my wife. We lived around the corner. And we married in the Orthodox shul in Amsterdam.
Who was the rabbi? Do you remember? Oh.
Yeah, he lives in... He just passed away. He was living in... was it? Near Tel Aviv, somewhere. I can't remember. I don't know yet. I forgot.
But it must have been a very joyous and wonderful occasion.
Yeah. That's why I thought my family came, when all they came to my wedding.
And can I ask, Max, what made you want to keep kosher?
I don't know. It comes from inside. The things you can't explain.
And wanting to come in and live in Israel?
Now, so I had my business in Melbourne, and my two daughters said one day, first my oldest daughter Miriam, she got a scholarship to study here in Israel, so she went to here to live. And when she came back, she said, I'm not staying here, I want to go and live in Israel. And my youngest daughter said, well, I think I'll also go. So 1.5 years later, 2 years later, she went to Israel. And we told my wife and I said, what are we doing here? I said, okay, we pack up. I sold our business, and 1.5 years later we packed up and we moved to Metalia.
When did you come here?
94.
In 94, so 28 years ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you happy with the decision coming to Israel?
Of course. I got 7 grandsons here.
It's wonderful. And Max,
They live in Efrat, they're on the corner here.
it's wonderful. Max, if I can ask you, because your story is so unique, and it's so inspirational, and it's the most amazing story. And you're so positive, and what you went through, it's very rare what you went through. And
a lot of people said about your experience is totally different.
It's unique. It's unique.
Yeah.
Well, what message do you give to your children and grandchildren? And
My grandchildren, they know everything. Besides that, my oldest daughter Miriam, she is very involved in the family trees. And my mother spoke to her about her experience, never to me. Well, to her.
Never to you.
No.
Maybe it was too painful. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
But if for the future generations, what message can you impart, or what advice would you give, having gone through what you went through?
Think, follow Hashem. What can I say? It is part of your life. Be grateful to Hashem. What happens here? We are here on this earth for a short period.
Yeah.
Then we go to a different dimension.
But you've always been grateful to Hashem.
Of course, you can see it because He put me somewhere where I grew up with a loving family.
it's just unbelievable. It really
And also
is.
the dates, I told you, the
Yeah.
4th of March is something special.
Very.
There were my husband was 1 year older than my father, but on the same day.
Well, Max, I want to thank you. I'm just going 1 minute. If I can just thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Right.
I am so grateful to you.
Okay.
And Max, really, your story is so inspirational, and you see the hand of Hashem.
Typical, yeah.
It's
You can't miss it.
but you see also this family here, and I'm so glad that you organized for your
Yeah.
that they got Chatzidei Motalam. May their memories and may your parents' memories be eternal blessing.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just amazing how people were prepared, because if they would have been caught, they would have been killed.
Of course.
And they were prepared to risk
They
their
didn't
lives.
think about it. That was their duty.
Oh, it's incredible. And I want to thank you so much.
And also that I didn't have a brother because my parents married in 1940. I was in 41. So I didn't have, so I got a brother.
And you still remain close.
Every Friday we speak to each other.
That's amazing. Well, Max, I want to thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you. You should just have nachas and Admevestrim in good health. You really are a tremendous... Your story is an inspiration to all of us, Max.
You want to see the story here? You have time to have a look at it?
Absolutely. Sure.
Because you have to hear pictures what I didn't have.
Okay. Okay.
It's from the mountain. And there is a mountain in Portugal. We went there several years ago. The mountain is called Del Monte, but it is the nice mountain. There is the same name. So we went there to join the Jewish community there.
So the sound is very bad.
Okay. You see,
But the text sounds good.
that's me in the middle.
So my parents, when they got married,
My parents, Vriend, and Maurits de Vriend got married.
the original the family came from Portugal.
They originally... Oh, they come...
My mother's side came from Portugal, yeah.
Do you know where in Portugal?
The Germans occupied invade Holland.
Well, which town in Portugal?
Brandsia. That's got the name here.
5 days.
That's my phone. That's my phone.
That was
See, my phone is here. Oh, that's your phone.
first years.
Oh, it's my phone.
Very normal. You can see here the canals in Amsterdam. And then there's only, I think in 43 you see the Germans walking, marching, etc. You see Amsterdam in that situation.
The place in
It was
Bragança, in the north of Portugal.
26, 8
It's a very wealthy family. Belmonte.
In Belmonte?
Yeah, Belmonte.
Belmonte.
On the left side, you see my parents, and the right side, my grandparents. That's the Speyer, that's the Speyer connection. I said, yeah, I've got a few Speyers on the list over there. And Simon Donut. And I was in that car, I had my own car ready at that time. It was a white car, it was okay. You see, my father was very happy, but very, very happy with me. There's also, I have a lot of pictures, and around the pictures I will tell my story. Growing up already at 42, life was still fairly normal. Nothing special. But then it happens. 1943, bingo. You see, trains, people lining up, it's a terrible situation there. And also in 43, sent to the transit camp in Westerbork in Holland. I don't know how long we stayed there because I was a baby, I can't remember. But the story is so, my father was working in the diamond industry. He was working by a company, Usher. Later on I saw you pictures of the company. He was a diamond cutter, and this Camp Westerbork, this one looks different now. I'll show you later this more monument now. This is Camp Westerbork. So, my father was told he was working for Usher. The Germans found a lot of diamonds, and they had to be polished and cut. So what they did, several people from Usher were sent back to Amsterdam, and lucky, the miracle was there. My father and he came back to Amsterdam.
Here's my
You see
father.
this
Wow.
Usher, you can read on the top. That's my father with the arrow before he was married. And you see here the building Usher was in Amsterdam. So my mother said to my father, what happens once can happen twice. We have to take care of it. It was a very, very difficult decision what they had to make. And to send to the underground. My uncle, who was married to the sister of my father, had a connection to the underground. He made the arrangement and the connection where I should go. So my parents said it was a very difficult decision for parents. I was about 2.5 years old. They didn't know if they would see me ever again. But it was the only solution, what they did. You see here on the left.
Sorry, that was just before she gave me away to the underground.
Before she gave me to the family of the people who were connected to the underground. To tell you the story for them. So my uncle made the arrangement. In the evening, my mother took me and went to a house from the lady who was connected to the underground. But her husband was an NSB'er. What is an NSB'er? NSB'er was, in Holland, there was the National Socialist Movement, the Beweging movement. That were traitors, that were kind of collaborators with the Germans.
In the same family.
So he was still at home, so we had to wait on the balcony till he left. So my mother gave me to, I think her name was Sejong. She was in charge of to hide the children. What you see here, my clothing, what my mother did, very clever. She put in, that was a woolen clothing booth, she put in the lining and coin was engraved with Gai. And that comes later, it's come back, I will tell you. So she gave me to the underground and she left. And the story is that I spent time with several families till I ended up with the people you see on the right hand side. That's me, the Slaghuis, that is Jan and die Slaghuis. We didn't have children. The story was followed. How did I end up there? There was a company in Almelo called Bendy. It was a confection factory, and Jan was working in the maintenance department with a colleague, the two of them. And his colleague was called Joop the Jew. And he was also connected to the underground. So, one day, he said, we have a Jewish child, you don't have children, are you willing to take care of the child? And the answer was, of course, yes, because I ended up there. Expression. Go back. So, okay, you see that, not know if they would ever see me again. My mother saw a coin in my closet. So, go to the next picture.
Yes, it's such a difficult decision, the most difficult decision a parent can ever make.
Later, the underground in Holland was financed. And there is a documentaire made on how it works. But anyhow, my parents left money for the family who would take care of, and there was a monthly payment.
Yeah.
In the meantime, my parents were picked up again. My mother was sent to Bergen-Belsen in the salt mines, and my father went to Orangeburg. So I started my new life by Jan and Die.
Him knows mine because I couldn't
I
explain
tried
the
to
name
find
X.
out that my name was
So they called him Mai.
2.5 years old, and I couldn't pronounce my name properly. I could only say Mai. So my name was, for the rest of my life there, Mai. The house where I ended up is the corner house here. What you see on the left hand side, in that time it was a school. And the gate here was the schoolyard. The entrance from the house were two entrances. And that's, I'll tell you later what was very important. The normal entrance that always was used was on the side of the gate to get in the house. The front door was never used. The bedrooms were upstairs. I made the layout from the house, what it looks like. So there's the school, the gate to the schoolyard, the gate to the backyard, the house, the kitchen, the living room, the front door, the Violeerstraat, that was the main street, that was the Violeer, it's a main street. And there's the stairs upstairs. So, her sister had a son, 9 years younger than I was. 9 months younger than I was. And his father was working for telecommunication, and he did sabotage work. And they found it could be dangerous to keep the son at home, so they put that child, Gerrit, with his sister, where I was. So we grew up together. And we went very often to the backyard, to the yard, and looked to the fence, to the Germans who are marching there, getting orders. And Gert and I, we did the same. We went around the table marching like the Germans.
And you remember this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was growing up there in the house, and I think that I was around 3 years old, and I started to remember things. Of course, I was a baby, and I remember that first of all there were Russians, and they had an informer who came to the door to tell them that Russia was coming. And I had to go upstairs. Under the roof was a hiding place for me to sit. Russia is that the Germans was running to the street, trying to find Jews to round them up. There was also behind Almelo is a place called Twente. It's a province in Holland. Almelo is to the east, very close to the German border, not that far. And the language is also, it's a dialect. So I spoke a dialect, but this later gave me problems. But behind Almelo was a forest. In that forest were the V1, the flying bombs, launched to England. And it went over our house. So and sometimes was a misfiring. And I was told that to learn the sound of misfiring, if I hear that sound, I have to go in the house, in the room, under the stair in the house was a place where I had to sit, and then Jan and Die was sitting in front till the danger was over. Almelo was also surrounded by farmland. So Jan went always on the bike to the farmers to get food. There was always food on the table. That is, and I'll go to the next bit. You see here the flying bombs. And then came the liberation in 1945, the 5th of May.
Do you remember the day of liberation?
It was liberated.
Of course, the Germans were fleeing.
And you remember seeing the Germans flee?
Oh yes, and the Canadian Army came in the school, and they came. We had sweets and chocolate.
Oh, they gave you sweets.
Oh yes. Here the Canadians.
Oh yeah, I have to tell you something else that I forgot. When the Germans were in the schoolyard there was one German soldier. He was replaced to go somewhere else. He had the white rabbit. And he told Dean, he said, I have a son at home, looks like your son. And I was forced to go in the army because they would kill my family. I have a white rabbit and I'd like to give it to you. And that was in 1944. There was no food. So I think the rabbit ended up as a meal. Okay. Something else to tell? There's something else to tell about the rabbit? No. Yeah. So when that is the story there. So the Germans had to flee from Almelo. And when I told you the Violist was a main street, and they were running through the street, shooting everything but moving, it was moving. And it was on lunchtime, and if you remember the layout from the house, we had some on the table, and suddenly a German soldier was standing in front of that window in front of the house, what you remember. And he sat on the table and he saw me. He aimed his weapon to me. My mother, die saw it, she grabbed me and put me under the table. He said, "No, life again." So when the German army was fleeing, the Canadians came to school. And they had nice tracks, so Gert and I went to the Canadians, to the soldiers, and we get chocolate and snacks and drinks. It was amazing. We've never seen it before.
You had never tasted chocolate before?
No sweets. There were no sweets. I still don't like sweets because I never grew up with sweets.
You can see I was a happy child, also Gert. On the backyard you see still the windows of the school where the Germans and the Canadians were. My father didn't make it. On the 10th of March 1945, it was only a few weeks before the end of the war, my father mounted the Vriend was killed in the dead march in Orion. He didn't make it. I have to tell them.
Just a few months before the end of the war.
What is it? My father was born on the 4th, there's something I can't explain, but I will tell you anyhow. My father was born on the 4th of March. Jan Slaghuis was born on the 4th of March. My mother, Femma, was born on the 28th of April. Dee was born on the 6th of May, a week apart. I can't explain it, especially the 4th of March. If somebody knows, let me know. I can't. I can see that here now is the Vriend, the 4th of March. Dit is Westerbork at the moment, as a monument. You see my daughter Denise with the two sons there, and there was visiting there. My mother survived the Ghost, the Salt Days. the horrors of Bergen-Belsen. She was very sick, the typhus. She was saved by Count Bernadotte III. Count Bernadotte, he brought up 15,000 survivors women from Bergen-Belsen and were sent by bus to Gothenburg in Sweden, where it took her a year to heal and to get better. Here she is. It must be 46 because she recovered there in Gothenburg. The women around her, when we came back to Amsterdam, they were still friends of us. I remember the ladies. So what happened? She came back in 46. And then she wanted to find me, she had to search for me. The Red Cross had information where children were hidden. It was also a record where the payment went. So she knew where I was. So one day, 46, I skipped the slide. Okay, that goes organized, okay. Okay, I have to tell something also, because between the liberation and when my mother came back, life started to be pretty normal for me. Because I ended up in the family from the Elst, Gerrit's family, where I was treated as a child, as a family. And there are very good memories there. His father was a good fisherman, and he taught me how to fish and how to clean fish, but I still do today.
Yeah.
I remember that on Friday, Gert and I were sitting in the tub, this one bit get nicely washed and pushed, and get some clothes, and I slept there, and we had the holidays there. On Christmas I could celebrate Christmas with decorating the trees. It was life had back to normal for me, and I had a very, very nice young used to it. Yeah, because Gert and I were always together. We're not separated. And you can see that later on. Okay. Then because the door of the door, it was unusual, because front door had to use temporary side door. So I was very curious, so Jan went to the door, he was standing behind him, and I was hiding behind him to see how his other door was within the door. So the door went open, and I was a lady with a big hat. And she said, I think you're my son. So she was invited to come inside, and we started talking, and she asked, did you find an engraved coin? And he said, yes, and that was the proof.
They were honest. They were very honest.
Very honest.
What I heard later is that Jan and he said, we can give you our house if you can keep us. If we can keep lying. Was it? No, that doesn't work like this. And then we had also a problem with the language, because I spoke dialect, and my mother didn't understand me. Not very good. So there was really a problem at the beginning.
Could you understand your mother?
I was
Yeah.
shy, I didn't talk so much. But when that strange lady came in the house, I was in no time sitting with her. We had dinner in the evening, and she stayed over for the night because it was impossible for her to go back to Amsterdam. In the morning, out of my bed, in her bed. So they knew straight away it was my mother. told you, then the arrangement what they make. Have to go to the next slide. Okay, here you see the family. You see also Zus, that is the sister from Dean, Jan, and on the back against the school.
It looks like a family. It's amazing.
It saved me a lot of trouble, but I understand what later.
You won't see that so much.
I said,
you won't see that so often.
It's very rare.
It's
extremely rare.
I was the child. They made the arrangement that as long as I want to go, I could travel between Almelo and Amsterdam.
It's the best arrangement they could ever have made.
My mother didn't take me. And she left to Amsterdam, she left me there. I got the next picture. Yeah, so the arrangement I told you is Amsterdam and Almelo. You can see on the left Amsterdam and Almelo, the round circle. In the middle with the arrow is Amersfoort. Amersfoort, you see on the right hand side, that was approximately halfway between the two places. That means that my father, Jan, took me in the train to Amersfoort. My mother was waiting because we had to change trains and took me to Amsterdam. And from Amsterdam, my mother took me to Amersfoort and to Almelo. And that went on for years and years. Every holiday I spent with the family in Almelo, till I was old enough to travel myself. And I tell you, it took me till I was 12 years that I was in Almelo. I said to Tia and Jan, I said, I have to go home because I have still so much homework to do. And that was a turning point that I knew.
Only till 12?
But that place was not home. The holidays in Almelo were spent, I see this the 46 or 47. Holidays in Almelo, you see on the left hand side, on the bottom side we had summer holiday camps. We spent there, I was there always with Gerrit. And on the top you see my parents, because my mother remarried a little later when I was 10 years old. We went to France, Gerrit came with us, we sat on the tank in Bretagne. On the right hand side, Paul Pasen, Pesach, the course of Easter. And you see, pictures tell a story, we were happy children. And you can see my brother on the right hand side, straight up because they look alike, you can't miss that.
And there was never issue of Jewish and...
Never.
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 Jan and Dia had the anniversary here. I can't remember what the date it was. But there is the front door, but I was tell you that it never was used, only twice for the anniversary for my mother. Growing up in Amsterdam, I was in the left of the pictures still for itself. You see I growing up in the school with the gardens, how to treat the gardens. I see there in the middle with my dog Curly, that was my dog. On the right hand side, on the beach in Zandvoort in the 50s. My father, I told you my father he met when I was 10 years old with Louis Hood. Best father for me, was excellent, with a very good connection together.
Were you at the wedding?
I'm not complaining about it.
You did go to the wedding, and you were happy that your mother remarried.
I always did.
For my mother was to be by herself alone, that was good.
And here, Dee and me, and it was the last picture together because the year after she passed away. But had a very big impact. You see also on the right hand side the gate, what I was talking about. But you see the picture, she is happy, and I was happy. We loved her together. Okay, on the left hand side, I finished my study at automotive engineering. I was working with Citroën on the left hand side. Holiday in Spain, holiday, and was Gerrit, I think Gerrit the picture, on the Eiffel Tower in Paris. On the right hand side, on the camping in the 60s. I finished my study in 1963 and that I started working straight away for Citroën. Here on the right hand side, my soulmate who married in 1966. On the left hand side you see sit back the steering wheel because she knows how to drive a car. She still does. And there are my hobbies. On the reunion of my school, the night is schoolyard, with auto rallies, cars. That can't miss. On the right hand side, familie, you see Denise, Mirjam, you see Jan. I want to tell you also, Jan, when Dee passed away, his wife, Jan spent some time at our place in Amsterdam. A few years later, he remarried. And you see on the right hand side that my children were his grandchildren. And you see on the left hand side, we have a very good connection together. He passed away in 1985, when we were living in Australia. And I was in his will, because I was their son. I received a lot of things, but I'm still in my house. I had in my house I had an antique clock, it's a big one from 1853. Because that clock, if you remember the outlet in the background. Oh yeah, the right hand side you can still see a piece of the clock there. Well, he left me the clock. The clock, if you remember the outlet from the house, with the front door, on the right of the front door upstairs, there the clock was hanging there. So if I went upstairs to that room, I always saw that clock. And it is now hanging in my room, in my living room. I was their child, and that was the way it was. So I was there in their will. Jan and Dee, and also the mother of Gerard, zus, were in Yad Vashem as a righteous shadow. They never wanted, when they were alive, I told them I want to do it. He said, no, we have to do, that was our duty, but when they passed away, anyhow, we did it anyhow. And that is the results. Okay, that was it. If you have any questions, Gerard? Can I speak to Gerard? Unmute Gerard. Gerard, can you unmute yourself? Gerard? Gerard, unmute yourself. Ja, maar Gerard. Ja, nou. Heb je iets aan te voegen aan de story wat jij herinnert?
Een paar kleine dingetjes.
So tell me.
Ja?
Ja.
Laatst je hebt...
I will translate because I know your Dutch is not that good.
Jij staat erop.
Kun je me nog horen?
Ja.
Kun je me nog horen?
Ja, ik hoor je, oké.
Oké, je hebt het over de Duitsers gehad op een gegeven moment die naast in de school zaten. Maar er was één Duitser, die weet nog, als het naar Russia was, kwam die altijd waarschuwen dat de kinderen moesten weg, weet je niet?
Oké.
En die is in de
He tells me from the German army there was one soldier who knew when there was a Russia, as I told you, it was a soldier. And he told that the children has to go away, the children.
Die is in de jaren 60 is hij nog terug geweest om te vragen hoe het met ons ging.
Wow. He came back to Almelo in the 60s to find out how we went, if we were still alive, how we were doing. Amazing. I never knew that. Okay, ja, Gerard?
Alle Duitsers zijn slecht. En vooral dus de jonge jongens die werden gedwongen om op een gegeven moment in het leger dus...
This is your brother?
Ja, dus op een gegeven moment mee te vechten. Deden ze dat niet, dan werden ze doodgeschoten of ook naar de kamp gestuurd.
I told you that the family was killed. Yeah, Gerrit said it. The young soldiers were forced to get in the army. If not, they would shoot them. Yeah, yeah.
Ja, en familie van op een gegeven moment van mijn vader, op een gegeven moment van jou, hè? Die zaten in de ondergrond, die waren zelfs ondergedoken in Duitsland, over de grens, bij boerderijen. Dus,
Wie waren dat?
Mijn vader.
de vaders van Lia, van dat vrouw, dus ook, die zaten...
The parents from Leah were hiding in Germany.
Dat is onbestelbaar, hè?
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay.
Nou, dan heb ik nog een kleine anekdote. Je hebt net verteld over vissen. Ja?
Ja.
Ja, we zijn een keer in vissen geweest in Hellendoor, in de visvijver. En dat ging fantastisch goed. We hebben heerlijke vis meegenomen en gegeten. Maar die kwam uit de diepvries. Daar was een shock bij.
Okay. We were about fishing. We didn't get any fish. So we went to the store to buy fish. It was frozen. Yeah.
Nou,
You know that story from the two fishermen? They're fishing and one they had false teeth that fell in the water. And the other said, oh, I said, oh, the water. The other said, oh, I got your bag. I said, not mine. Throw it back in the water. Yeah, that's fishing skills. Okay. We can see we talk to each other every week to find out how our week was. We are very close to each other. We come on holidays every second year. We've spent a lot of time on holidays. But the last cruise we went together to Venice. Gerrit?
ja,
Yeah. We had a great time.
dat prima helemaal. Hè? Stel je oude taaiers. Hè?
Okay, doe je.
Your wife and his wife, they all get on well.
It's
amazing.
So, yes, okay.
Hij verder heeft er eigenlijk niks aan toe te voegen, jongen. Je hebt alles verteld wat ik...
Okay. So if you put yourself on mute and ask people if they have questions. People on mute themselves so they can ask questions.
It is unbelievable. This is just...
How did you meet Netta?
Oh, that's a different story. In Amsterdam, there was a Jewish rowing club called Poseidon. I was race rowing, and I was also an instructor. So that was really everything. Who did I instruct? Well, Netta. So I told her how to row. She did very well, but we ended up together. Yeah. I was the rowing club. Yeah. That's how it all began. Yeah. It's still going.
How many years have you been married?
This
No
is
questions?
57.
It's wonderful.
We zijn heel duidelijk geweest. Je hebt je heel duidelijk verteld alles, dus... hè?
Ja, ik denk het wel. Ja.
Max? Was your stepfather Jewish or non-Jewish?
Jewish. Hood, Levi Hood. Levi, you can't go wrong with that.
So you were an older child when you learned about Judaism. You'd been celebrating Christmas and Easter for a few years.
Oh yeah.
You had to learn everything.
I didn't know it was Jewish. I didn't know. I found out later on, because I went when I started to the Jewish school, to Sunday school, Jewish school, and I had a mitzvah. And on the bar mitzvah board there, the family had Malmo. And when I got married, who was the wedding? The family had Almelo. They were part of the family, always. Yeah? Clear? More questions? Okay, thanks for joining me in my story. That my story, the happy ending. And I told you about the deal because when we lived in Australia, there was an arrangement for Holocaust survivors who had psychic help need help. And so I went there, and that was not for me. I didn't have those problems. Because they made such a good arrangement, my mother and Jan and Dee.
Both of you.
Yeah.
Max, it is the story is not only is amazing, it is on so many levels. It's just incredible that you've kept this relationship with your brother. Is also unbelievable.
It's very strange. If we are together, we think, we answer the same questions very often. I say something and he said straight away the same thing. I don't know how it comes, but we were very close.
And your children and his children?
No, that's different because my children living here and he has two children and all.
But do they have a connection as well?
No, I haven't. His son is not very healthy, but his daughter I know. We speak his daughter sometimes when she's there. Yeah.
And you've shared your lives together.
Yeah.
I think this is unique in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other story like this.
I've never heard a story that was similar to me.
And the clock, do you have it?
Yeah, come. Here's the clock.
Wow.
Come inside, come.
Sure. You can see it's an antique.
Yeah.
And this was in the house when you were growing up.
When I came from the stairs, one bedroom, the clock was there in front of me.
Was this the most valuable possession?
Also, they left me money.
They left you money as well.
Also. And something from the kitchen, what was always there, that is here. This was it. That was in the kitchen.
Which is hanging up.
Yeah.
So this is when you were a child. This is what's in
That's what they
the...
used in the kitchen.
So every day you have these, not only these memories, but you can physically...
Yeah.
Well, Max, I am so grateful to you, and it's the most remarkable, incredible story.
I'm happy to share it with you.
And you should just continue in your journey.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so important that you relate the story because it's so positive, and you can just see where people,
Good people.
very good people,
Still good people.
and that your mother was prepared to share you as well, and they were. You had a very clever mother. Your parents made the most difficult decision to give you to the resistance.
Yeah.
And they made the right decision. And unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Max, thank you so much.